to another episode of The Little Radio Show, bringing you small talk about big topics. This week we have a look at the upcoming Veterans Day holiday, some news stories that we took a look at and wanted to share, including the upcoming Latin Explosion documentary by Tommy Mottola. We're going to have a friendly conversation about families and the current anti-family environment that seems to be erupting in society about babies being present in restaurants with other families or with other adults. And we have a wonderful interview with Suzette Codo, who is the CEO of Innovate Social Media, and is going to talk to us about using social media to find business opportunities. Just a reminder that you can catch us every week on Thursdays at 2 p.m. Central Time on hmsnetradio.org. Our show archives and the link to our iTunes channel and Stitcher are available at thelittlерadioshow.com. My name is Sandra Fernandez, and this is another episode of The Little Radio Show. And my co-hosts are
Angelica Casares
and Juan Alanis. How are you?
In this week's In Case You Missed It, the holiday that you need to be paying attention to is Veterans Day.
Veterans Day. We had was it Mika here recently who told us about the Veterans Project that the Houston Public Library did, and very admirable, because I think that's focused specifically on Latino veterans, but I think Veterans Day in general is important just because so many people serve across the board.
And as a refresh, that was the Latino Veterans Oral History Project, where the Houston Public Library's Houston Metropolitan Research Center did oral history interviews with Latino veterans of World War II. I know that the exhibit is still up, and that some of the interviews are actually on display as part of the exhibit.
Yeah.
We'll post a link to that in show notes. One of the things that happened to me when my brother became the troops was that Veterans Day became a more significant holiday for me. And it's so funny and it's so ironic how things just become more important when they touch you personally. And
it's very close to home.
Very close to home.
Yeah, as opposed to observing it, now we actually participate.
Yes.
Type of thing, yeah.
And absolutely. And so I became a lot more vocal about things that were happening to the military and support both by the government and by people of what the military is doing. And talking about the military as an organization, I'm talking about troops. I'm talking about the soldiers. I'm talking about the 18-year-olds who looked like my brother with a shaved head and that lovely new posture and, all the training. And my brother isn't in the military anymore, but he is always going to be a vet. For the rest of his life, he is always going to be a veteran, and I'm going to be the sister of a soldier.
So I read a story recently. It was on the Atlantic, and I just thought I thought I'd mention it because it really was a powerful story. It was somebody. The name of the person was a Salvadoran immigrant. His name is Guillermo. They didn't use his last name because they were protecting him. But the story, the gist of it, was pretty much telling one story of all the unaccompanied minors that have come to the United States from Central America, and how the system is kind of set up to where they're not really able to stay, so a lot of times they get sent back. And he just happened to get lucky that his mom was here, and there was a law that's actually the special immigrant juvenile status law that allowed him to be able to stay within the country. And I think that's one law that not a lot of people know about. And if you don't, I think one of the stats was if you don't know that law exists, your chances of staying here as a minor are pretty much slim to none, because nobody's going to argue that for you. And if you do know that law, then you have a pretty good chance of staying. So just I invite you to read that story because I thought it was really kind of cool.
It's an exceptionally well-written story, and I know that the unaccompanied minors and immigration is it's one of those divisive topics. So there are people out there going, really, that's what you're telling me to read? No. They did a really good job of humanizing the experience from the point of view of this one person, and actually showing everything that all the obstacles and the challenges that he had to confront, from the dangers that he fled from to him actually obtaining legal status in the U.S.
So where can I find this article? Because I'm such a bad host. I did not read this article.
Well, we'll post it in the show notes.
Okay, great.
and it's on it was written by the Atlantic, somebody from the Atlantic. But the other thing is that it's a good reminder that, you know, it wasn't so sensationalized. A lot of times we hear nowadays, like especially so many stories about immigrants and how, you know, they're not always in the most positive light. But this was kind of a good change of scenery.
It was very feel good.
Yeah,
it was a very
refreshing.
feel good story. It was refreshing.
Yeah, and then the other thing I'll mention is the fact that I saw that on November 16th. HBO is going to be doing a documentary that was produced by Tommy Mottola. If you guys don't know, Tommy Mottola is Thalia's husband.
And if you don't know who Thalia is, then I got no news for you.
But it's a pretty cool. I was kind of excited to see it because it's called The Latin Explosion, and it kind of talks about, you know, the fact that this moment and trying to capture this moment in time for Latinos in this country. And it opens up with, I think, Ricky Martin saying something like, you know, the United States is the second largest Spanish-speaking country in the world.
Yes, it is.
Boom. And I was like, all right.
No, you know, I seen that clip, and I don't know who mentioned it or who said it, but they said something along the lines of, it's really great to be Latino Hispanic now. Mm-hmm. Now, so if you identify, or if you have roots and you identify with being Latino or Hispanic, the time to express that is today, now.
What I really I'm looking forward to about the documentary is the fact that it has a lot of big names. So it has J-Lo and Gloria Estefan, it has Thalia, Ricky Martin, Shakira, and a bunch of others. And I'm just like, that's a good list to have.
I'm impressed you looked at past J-Lo.
I did, because I was like, I'm a big Gloria Estefan fan too, so I was like,
no, you had to look at everything past J-Lo.
And that's the In Case You Missed It for this week. If you're just tuning in, this is the Little Radio Show on hmsnetradio.org. I recently heard a story that I'm sharing today because it seems to be part of an overall trend. There was a family at a Texas Roadhouse, and they had a baby with them, and the baby was being a baby. They had enough. She was crying, and two women at a table next to them took exception to the fact that the baby was being, in their words, disruptive, and wrote a note and put it on the table of the family in question saying, thank you for ruining our dinner.
Oh, wow.
Now, as I understand it, and obviously this is all third hand, there were some conversation. There's some conversation between the mom and the women, and then the mom complained to the management, who then asked the women to please finish their dinner and leave. Now, the Texas Roadhouse have been quoted, representatives from the Texas Roadhouse have been quoted as saying that it's a family-friendly restaurant. They wanted to make sure that families feel comfortable bringing their kids in. That's not an isolated incident.
It's happened several other times.
It's happened in several other places. Now, there's been examples. There have been examples of people being rude or complaining because, one, there is a baby that's being disruptive, or two, there is a child that they believe is going to be disruptive. And then there's also several examples of restaurants who are actually taking the different tact. For example, in Houston, there's a restaurant that a few years ago came out with a no children under the age of 9 welcome after 7 p.m. policy, which caused a lot of waves, because as far as they're concerned, they have...
And that's all in the right of the restaurant to actually do something like that.
But is it?
Well,
is
yes,
it really in the right of the
their,
restaurant to say, you can't bring your kids to have dinner here?
It's their establishment, and if they feel that 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 child might be disruptive, or that they just choose not to deal, the restaurant the restaurant staff chooses not to deal with anybody 5-7-year-olds being disruptive, to do that. Now, I say this because I understand, because I sit on the completely different fence as to what happened at the Texas Roadhouse and what people have applauded these ladies for doing.
Oh, no, I didn't applaud the ladies.
No.
I understand them. I don't applaud them. That was just incomprehensible.
Well, there are some people
to me.
out there. There are some people out there who kind of applaud this, but there are some people who kind of see what they're kind of saying, and they understand them more than as opposed to the woman with a child.
I don't have children.
Yeah, I know, and I understand. I completely. So, Sandra, do you want to go ahead and give us your take on it, and then we can.
To me, there are children who are mine and children who are not. And my children, who is
Your
those
children
who belong,
are well behaved and
no,
honorable.
no. The children who belong to my friends and family are beautiful. They're brilliant, and when they misbehave, it's okay. It's not disruptive. It doesn't bother me at all. All other children, on the other hand, yeah, not so much.
Not so much.
The reality is, I understand where these women were coming from. They went out to have dinner. They were talking. The table right behind them, there's a child, I'm imagining, wailing at the top of his or her lungs. I don't know if the mom was trying to get the child to please settle. Probably was. Most moms are embarrassed when this happens to them. I understand the sentiment that your dinner was ruined. I would have felt like that. I would have felt, I just spent $40 on dinner. Okay, $20, Texas Roadhouse, whatever, on dinner, and I didn't even get to enjoy it.
Yeah.
I would never have gone up to this woman, to this family.
You would have never taken it upon yourself to create that act.
Lord, no.
To actually write a note and put it down.
But the thing is, if you want to go and you want to have a good time, don't go to Texas Roadhouse. Go somewhere else.
That is actually quite true. Suzette, do you want to chime in? Because I see your reactions.
I'm like, don't go into Texas Roadhouse. Why would you go to Texas Roadhouse if you want to do that? I like their food,
but I'm looking at it from the standpoint of, yes, I am a parent, and that parent should have done something, asked for a doggy bag, or, created the segue to getting themselves out of the restaurant so that
to do that.
Yeah, do we know
enjoy their dinners?
Where I sit on this.
But wait, do we know if the baby was wailing or the baby was just a little?
It was enough to bother the women, and that should have been enough. I completely get it. There are some people out there, and I'm one of them, that I am completely triggered by loud noises. If it's on the wrong day, wrong place, I know I might be triggered by a wailing kid. That just, it brings it brings these nerves, and things happen, sort of to speak. So I kind of know my take is on it. If I don't want to hear a wailing kid, I'm probably not going to go into an establishment that has, a family-friendly establishment, or I might not go see a matinee movie. Now, it is completely different when you're at you're going to the movies at 10, 11 o'clock at night, kind of sort of expecting there to be no children. And there are children? Yeah. That's a different story. Then that's when that's when okay, why are there children? You know what? Maybe I'll sit as far away as possible from them. And, it seems now we're so intolerable of everything. And that's the trend.
I understand, and I agree with that completely. But let me give another side to that. I have family friends. They've got 3 children. Their oldest went through a phase when the terrible twos. And not even a baby, the terrible twos, where she just was loud on purpose when they went out. And they had to make the decision to stop going out until they could get her to not be loud on purpose. They could have made the decision that, we deserve to go out and everyone else is just going to have to put up with it.
Yeah.
What they actually decided was, okay, I'm not going to inflict my daughter, who I know is going to misbehave, on other people. I've gone to brunch with friends who have infants. The infant starts to act up, and guess what? Each one of us takes turns standing up and walking around the restaurant, and the infant doesn't cry his head off or her head off. And I have taken my turn getting up and walking around. Because this is one of my children.
Yeah, and I understand that.
Those families were missing my father, because all he had to do is give me the look.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
My brothers. Okay. We could have been 2, and he gave us the look. We didn't make a sound.
I could feel my mother looking at me from across the room. And, you had that thing where if you didn't make eye contact, you didn't have to acknowledge that you'd been caught.
So you made your way around, making sure you didn't look at her directly.
Oh, yeah. No, oh my goodness. I could feel the look. What, did the look disappear? Is that what happened?
I think so. We need to bring it back.
I'm telling you.
No, that is very true. Sometimes people were more prone to watch people discipline their kids in public, and even that's not okay anymore.
Well, because people get so offended. Like, it was like, oh my God, they got spanked. Oh my God, they call the police, call 911.
I am not saying that to spank or whatever.
Yeah, no, we're not condoning. We're not That's not what we're saying.
So, to CPS out there, Edgar is not being spanked. I know that for a fact.
Yeah, boy is not being spanked. But coming back to the conversation.
Let's go to the other thing, though, is not the parents, the women, okay? Mm-hmm. When did it become okay to be so blatantly disrespectful to strangers that, okay, you ruined my dinner, so let me go and show you how awful you are by leaving you a note in person to tell you what a bad mother I think you are. And it didn't say the words, but that was the implication. You know, I was brought up with company manners. You made every effort to make sure that you did not offend people when you were out in public.
Maybe it's this new thing happening where people feel so entitled. Like, you ruined my dinner. Like, I'm so sure the woman went out there with her toddler thinking, oh, I'm going to ruin X, Y, and Z's dinner. No. I don't think that's what her intention was, but they feel so entitled. You ruined my lunch. My week is over. Like, what?
But you nailed it earlier. Intolerant. When did we become so intolerant that incivility is acceptable?
We're so intolerant and we're so entitled.
I honestly believe that if the child was acting up, the parents, one of them should have gotten up and walked outside or walked around with the baby to try and settle him or her. And no, it's not fair. And maybe the mom was alone with the kids. And I'm sorry. I honestly believe that if the child is acting up, you don't get to finish your lunch. Or your dinner or whatever.
And that's where I think we completely disagree, Sandra.
I know
that's
but my
our
sisters
turning
would have
point.
left. My sisters who do have kids, I saw them do this on more than one occasion, where when one of my niece or nephews or whatever couldn't settle down, either she or my brother-in-law didn't have dinner,
I've seen women
or they
do
left.
that. I've seen women do that, but for different reasons. Because one, they could not take it, and they themselves had a problem. Like, I myself have gotten up and left the restaurant and finished quickly, asked for something to go. And you know what? Actually, I've done it right before they served us the food, and like, can you just put it to go, please? We obviously need to leave. I've done that myself for other reasons, and the other reasons I have not left not because I thought I was entitled to stay there and eat, but because I thought, okay, well, we're gonna have to get used to eating out, and you know, he's gonna have to used to, like, I have to get used to me calling his attention all the time, which is something that I kind of, maybe I didn't do as when he was, maybe I need to stop talking a lot about this, because people that can relate to a lot of other things. So
no, the reality is,
but people
we have differing opinions on this.
Yeah, we do. So,
but I think we can both agree
that
we don't agree with how the women handled it.
No, definitely. I don't think, and I don't agree with Juan either. Let's put that out there.
Agree with Juan.
Let's put that out there. I don't agree with Juan either, but we do.
But I think as a society, we need to change that trend and not be so intolerant. To be a little bit more patient. To think a little bit more about what the other person might be going through, as opposed to just reacting and being so reactive.
I believe we're probably going to revisit the topic of incivility and modern manners at some point. I do invite all of our audience to leave us notes and let us know how you feel about this.
Do you agree or do you disagree with us?
Just a reminder, you can catch the Little Radio Show on hmsnetradio.org every Thursday at 2 p.m. Central. Joining us today is Suzette Cotto, who is the CEO of Innovate Social Media, and she is going to talk with us a little bit about how to use social media to create business opportunities. Hi, Suzette. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me on your show. I'm really happy to be here.
That's a great topic that not a lot of people think about when they think about social media, but so important. I
have a lot of solopreneurs that decide I want to write a book or I want to create a new business, and with social media, there's so much out there that it's really hard to filter through it and decide, what do you do first? So I have people who come to me who are the baby boomers who really haven't engaged and embraced social media the way that other generations have, and when they come to me, they have no social media, and they may have a Facebook page, they may have a LinkedIn profile, but they don't have a clue what to do with it. It's there, but they're not using it to their advantage. So it's my job to teach them how to use the media in the right ways to get attention to their brand, to build contacts. That's the most important thing with social media, is to build your community so that you have people who are brand advocates who come to you for information. They come to you because they enjoy the things that you talk about on social media. And then also there's some sharing of your information with their friends, family, and followers. So that's the whole point once you get started, is to learn how to expand that growth.
You really become a resource for them in a way, So I'm really interested in that topic that you said. So you take them from not knowing anything to kind of, so what's that first step that they have to take to go from nothing to actually understanding the importance of why they need it?
Well, I try to give them a foundation of, pick a couple of channels that you feel comfortable with and that align with your brand. So say if you're an author, I have a lot of authors these days who want to publish and promote themselves, and so I let them pick a couple of platforms, and Facebook and Twitter are good because they're conversational, and then LinkedIn is good for making business relationships on. So I encourage them to create a profile that has brand recognition, and if they don't have that to begin with, then that's what we try to figure out together, is create a brand that people are going to be drawn to. So part of the beginning process is creating the brand, and then showing them how to use the social media, giving them resources that they can do some self-study with, and then show them ways to build their contacts organically.
So don't start out with 10 accounts, but pick and choose
Right.
like maybe one or two that you think you can handle, you can manage, and where you can build a community, really.
Part of what we do in the beginning is setting realistic expectations as well. So, you could be on Twitter one day and see somebody out there that says, for $29, I can get you 10,000 followers.
Don't do that.
You'll get kicked off of the social media platform. Nobody likes that. So,
And
it's
then
like,
you don't have any real engagement.
No.
Yeah.
You're connecting with people who don't have an interest in you or your brand, and they're never going to talk to you. And that's the whole point of social media, is to have a conversation about what it is that you're bringing to market.
So what you're talking about is helping people to build a relevant audience, a relevant community to their business goals.
Yes. And we set a schedule up so that they can get used to doing this for themselves. Either they do it themselves, or I help them do it, or I do it for them. Those are your three choices. So if you're going to do it yourself, you have to set up, I call it a social media footprint. And, I put on a spreadsheet, all of the media channels that I'm on, how often I want to post, and maybe give myself a 90-day look forward for what's going on in the community that I want to bring to their attention, things that we want to talk about. Community building is everything to your brand, because once you have a loyal follower, they're going to stick around. They're going to look for you. They're going to look for your tweets and your posts and your content. The biggest thing that I think people don't incorporate into their social media is shareability functions. So, there are those ways to include in a content post on your website share buttons, ways for people to share your information with their audience, and
encouraging
that's how it works.
Encouraging people, because I think a lot of times we're afraid to self-promote too much. and we don't want to be so upfront about it. So I think it's kind of accepting it and saying yes, we're gonna self promote, and that's fine. But my other question is, once you get there, once you kind of build the community that you want, and once you kind of are establishing your brand, what's the next step, and how you continue growing as a business?
You have to be current. You have to talk about things that are relevant, and you have to do it on a regular basis. You can't come into a social media platform and own it for a couple of days and then not go back to it for a while. A lot of small businesses that I start working with, I see when they start their business, they started a Facebook page and they started a Twitter, and they haven't been back to it since 2014.
Or we're having a good weekend.
What good is that going to do you? Not at all.
Or we're having a good weekend. You're like, okay, I'm going to post all these cute and like really fun posts, and you get some engagement, and then
you abandon for 3 months.
3 months.
Right.
You're
Yeah.
like, oh.
So you go back, and there's that cute little cat meme that you put up, and it's still there by itself, and it has no engagement. So you have to pay attention to your social media.
So consistency is key.
Consistency is key. Posting, and they have tools that you can use like Buffer or Hootsuite, and that's a little bit, once you get your social media going, you can look at these tools to help you post on a schedule. So say you want to post every day, 2 times a day, you can use a Buffer tool, a Buffer app tool, or the Hootsuite tool, and that way you know that your audience is getting a message on a regular basis. The big thing is to make sure you pay attention to when those audiences have interaction with your posts. So it's not completely automated. You do have to participate.
Yeah, now Facebook gives you a report card or grade. They your page is rated as excellent in response time because you respond within whatever amount of time.
Right.
So one of the criticisms that we hear very often, especially from small business owners, is that social media doesn't really bring in business for them. And I know that you work with people on actually ways of using social media to identify new clients and to identify prospects. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
The absolute key is to make sure that you have a way to funnel your contacts or your followers into a contact database. I use Constant Contact as my contact database, and I provide my audience with ways to sign up for my newsletter or sign up for something of value that I'm giving away to them. And then that way they've provided me with a way to stay in touch with them via email. And email has a much longer shelf life than social media. People can look at their email, they can save it, they can put it somewhere where they can go back and refer to it. And then if you're providing them with something of value in that email relationship, then that's how you get to have a targeted conversation with them. Email marketing is a way to stay connected to your contacts. Social media is a way to talk to them in a live format. So you have to have both. You have to have both so that your social media is feeding your contact database and growing it for you over time. But the most important thing is to make a small investment in a way to house your contacts and have a way to communicate with them on a regular basis.
So that's all great advice. Thank you.
So how can people find out more about you?
Well, I have a website. It's innovatesocialmedia.com. And this month we are giving a podcast promotion. If you sign up for a Constant Contact subscription with me, you'll receive free mobile-friendly email design template, contact list upload, and access to online training courses with a Constant Contact product trainer, all which is valued at $300. And that's a great way for a new business to get their foot, in the door of following their dream.
Yeah, take advantage.
Thank you, Suzette.
Thank you.
for joining us for another episode of The Little Radio Show. We invite you to check out our iTunes channel and our Stitcher channel and to leave us a rating or a review. You can find both links at thelittleradioshow.com.